This video is about a flight of development, and I have recorded it for you as a pilot for this plane. So this plane is flying from position A to position B, and you are the pilot. Now with this video, it will help you to manage development effectively and efficiently. But basically, it's just an overview of what you must consider when implementing development in your community or in your organization. And FLIGHT is an acronym where F stands for future. F stands for future. And L stands for leadership. And I stands for initiate. And G stands for good governance. And H stands for holistic approach. And T stands for teamwork. Now, with all these things that I've mentioned, I'm telling you, you will manage to reach your destination safely so. You need to think about the future. You need to think about where your organization must be in 3 years' time. You need to think about where your village or your township will be in 5 years' time. Suppose you don't have library in your community. But in 3 years' time, yes, you can have one. Meaning that in future, you want to have library. So this means that you need to have goal in mind. You need to have vision to realize in mind. It's a dream that you want to realize. So you must have future in mind. So you are the pilot. You must understand how you want to get to that future. Meaning that you need also to come up with some strategies to reach that particular future. And that is where leadership comes in. Leadership starts when you visualize your future. And leadership again now is coming in when you are setting objectives. So that is why when we talk about future, we immediately talk about leadership. Because now you have to decide in terms of how you want to achieve those particular goals. Maybe you want to build a library. But for you to build that library, you still have to achieve certain objectives. What are those objectives? And that is where maybe, if ever it's in an organization, we talk about management by objectives. Now, sometimes you might be a leader in a community. Say, for example, you are a chief. Definitely, you can provide leadership by motivating your community. You give them encouragement. In other words, you inspire them. You show them the importance and benefits of building a community library. But in short, we are saying you need to know your future, and then you exercise the leadership that will help you to realize success. You know, basically when we talk about leadership, we talk about influence. We talk about you coming up with means and ways to realize your vision. Now, what kind of support do you intend to give the team? Because definitely, as a leader, you must provide support. You must bring resources. You must make sure that the environment is conducive for implementing that development project. Now, we have to go to this I. With I, we are talking about you initiating the project. And I know basically all these things, they're interrelated. But now you are initiating the project. You can start by writing a business case. Or you write a business plan. Or you write a project plan. But with this one, I'm saying you are the one to initiate the project. You are the one to investigate and identify the project that you have to implement. And after that, you prepare necessary documentations. These documentations will help you when you are looking for funding, for an example. In other words, when you have project proposal, it becomes easier for you to convince somebody to help you during the implementation or to help you with the implementation of that particular project. You know, when you initiate, it's not necessarily that you must be the one to write the project plan, but you can ensure that the project plan is in place by involving people who can help you to do that. Meaning that stakeholders' involvement is also very important. You might be the one who have come up with the dream, but you need to involve your community. These people must have ownership of whatever you want to implement. Remember, if they don't have ownership, whatever you are implementing might turn to be a white elephant. People might not use it, but when you involve them, they tend to have ownership of it. They believe that it's theirs, and they will again handle this particular project with care. Remember, you cannot destroy what belongs to you. The same applies with this community or with this village. If they believe that this project is theirs, they will protect it more than they protect their individual assets. So that is why it is important again to involve stakeholders. So as part of initiating this project, you must make sure that you involve those who are affected by the implementation of this project from the start. So involving stakeholders is important. So you need to write letters to different structures. You need to approach government where necessary. You need to bring people who can come and share relevant knowledge with you. So you need to also look at the legislation. But basically, you are responsible for initiating the project. So come up with project plan so that you can start to implement its provisions. Now, we have to talk about good governance. I have seen projects collapsing because of lack of good governance. Now, what is good governance? Governance, maybe that is the word that we can start to talk about. Because governance is about a process or processes that are involved in decision making. And also, governance has something to do with processes that are involved when implementing or not implementing decisions. So that is governance. So meaning that we talk about structures that has something to do with decisions. So governance is about making decisions. And there are structures that are involved in making decisions. So what does this mean? It means that you must formulate or compose structures that will run with that development project. So you must come up with structures that will help you to implement the project. But it is important that you also ensure that these structures are observing the principles of good governance. For example, you need to involve stakeholders, meaning that stakeholders' participation is important. You must make sure that you are implementing whatever you are implementing based on the rule of law, meaning that there should be policies that are guiding you during the implementation of this development project. Transparency must also be involved. You must ensure that whatever you are doing is transparent to all the stakeholders, meaning that if ever there is something that they don't understand, maybe you have taken this particular decision, you must be in position to show them how you have reached that particular decision. Policies must be in place to guide you in terms of coming up with decisions. So good governance is important. So you must be able to reach consensus. So, but in short, I just thought I should talk about good governance because it has something to do with accountability. You must ensure that people are accountable for their actions. So this is something that is lacking in most of development projects. And once you have this one right, I'm telling you, most of your projects will be successful. Now, this is the G that I thought I should talk about. The other aspect that I would like you to consider is the holistic approach. One thing that I have noticed is that people look at all these factors in isolation from other factors. For an example, during the implementation of the project, we are talking about stakeholders' involvement. But we cannot talk about stakeholders' involvement without looking at legislation. And again, we cannot talk about stakeholders' involvement without looking at the structures that are there. And remember, whatever we are doing all these things under a particular leadership. Again, now we are going to talk about teamwork. Again, that is where now we are talking about different skills. So, in short, I'm saying you need to consider all these things. In other words, you must have helicopter view regarding whatever is happening in this community that you want to develop. You must look at the culture of the people who are there. And again, you must again consider different resources that might assist you in coming up with this particular project. You must again consider environmental factors, but all in all, I'm saying you must look at these things in a holistic manner. And when you have this holistic approach, definitely, even when a business case or a business plan is presented to you, you will be able to say, no, it's like you have omitted this important aspect. But the point that I want to drive home is that you must look at this thing holistically. When you look at leadership, you mustn't look at leadership in isolation from other important aspects. Holistic approach is very much important. The other important aspect that I would like you to look at is team spirit. Now, you have to ensure that you are working as a team. Always ensure that people are working as a team. Because you can find a group of people but with different visions. And definitely, when people have different visions, they cannot be a team. So now it is your responsibility to continuously remind the team about the vision that they are supposed to realize as a community. Team spirit is very important. When people are working as a team, definitely they support one another. They share information. Where there is a gap, you find that the other person volunteers to close that particular gap. That is when people are working as a team. Instead of competing, they complement one another. That is when people are working as a team. Because in number of occasions, you will find that different structures are competing, and hence they spend much time fighting for things that they were not even supposed to fight for. Because now people are not working as a team. Remember, the goal is one. And that goal is to come up with an initiative or a development project that will benefit the entire community or that will benefit the entire organization. When you are working as a team, definitely you succeed. Work as a team, you will make it. So when you look at these things holistically, definitely you will achieve whatever you want to achieve. But this is actually what I said I should talk to you about. The flight of development. When you have this flight, I'm telling you, you succeed in implementing development. I repeat, I designed or I recorded this video for the pilots, and you are a pilot. You know the destination. And because you know the destination, you must guide the team. You must guide the people who are on board. You know the destination. Coach them, motivate them, provide direction, evaluate options, and provide direction. And ensure that you are monitoring, because without monitoring, again, is something that can be problematic. It requires you to continuously monitor. And when you monitor, you check whatever is happening against the goal, against the objectives that have been set, against the attainment of the vision. Remember, whatever thing that might make you not to realize your objectives, it's a risk. So meaning that you must make sure that you monitor all the risks. You are a pilot. You have to make sure that this flight takes people from where they are to where they're supposed to be safely so. This is the flight of development. And with this flight of development, somewhere, somehow, you will experience turbulences. You will experience challenges. Because you are a pilot, inform the people who are with you. Tell them that now we are experiencing challenges. Because if you don't tell them, they might tend to become demoralized. If you don't encourage them, they might fail to see the bigger picture. Remember, you might lose some of the people along the way. But what I'm trying to say, I'm saying you are the pilot. You know exactly what is happening and what is going to happen. You have been there to that particular place beforehand, before everyone in the team. Continue to innovate. Continue to bring new ideas. There will be times where you might need to change direction a little bit because of wind. And in the process of doing that, inform the people. Because if you don't change direction, you might find that you are making the project to fail. But at the same time, I'm saying it is not for the first time where you have been flying planes. The very same experience that you used to fly previous planes might be necessary here. So now continue to use some of those things that you used previously so that you can achieve safely, so that you can realize this particular vision. I'm saying I'm left with no other option but to wish you good luck as you are implementing this particular project. Remember, this is the flight of development, and it will help you to successfully deploy community projects in your area. It will successfully help you to deploy organizational projects in your organization. So it is just an overview of what you can do in order to realize your vision as an organization. I thank you.